Would you like to supersize that? Would you like fries with your meal? Would you like cheese on that burger? I'd be willing to bet almost all of us in this room have heard that question, because according to UCSDnutritionallink.org, Americans eat out an average of 4 to 5 times a week. And every single day, about 1/4 of the US population eats fast food. I know I have this week, and I wish I could say I haven't, because my New Year's resolution was to not eat so much fast food this year. I haven't done the best job ever, but it's tough because, fast food tastes great, it's quick, convenient, ready at any time of the day. It prevents you from having to wash dishes, which is nice. But here are some startling facts that, will tell you how addicted America is to fast food. The Golden Arches are now more widely recognized around the world than the Christian cross, and that most children, or many children, recognize the McDonald's logo before they even recognize their own name. American children now get about 1/4 of their total vegetable servings from potato chips and French fries, and the typical teenage boy in the United States gets about 10% of his daily calories from soda. So today, I would like to give you some facts that will hopefully persuade you to eat a little bit less fast food, or hopefully cut it out completely. I'll talk about the effects that it has on your body and your appearance, or your health and your appearance, some of the gross incidents that I'm sure most of us have already heard, and the effects that it can have on your budget. We're all aware that fast food is bad for your health, but I think some of us underestimate just how bad it is. Obesity is the most obvious consequence from eating too much fast food. The high levels of trans fat and calories in fast food leads to abdominal fat and insulin resistance, which is an early indicator of diabetes. Obesity has been ranked the #1 health threat for Americans. It is also the second leading cause of preventable death in the United States, which claims up to 400,000 lives every year. Obesity can lead to type 2 diabetes, heart problems, hypertension, and blocked arteries. There are also some other consequences, such as nutritional deficiencies, cardiac disorders, and even loss of muscle mass. Some of the worst consequences from eating too much fast food, this isn't really the one worst, but it's something you would expect: headaches due to the chemicals in the processed meat that increase blood flow and build pressure in your brain. Depression, which according to a study done by the University College of London, depression has been linked to regular consumption of fast foods. People who indulge in fast food regularly are 58% more likely to suffer from depression. Fast foods do not contain antioxidants, folate, and omega-3s, which is necessary for good mental health. Fast food contains preservatives, emulsifiers, thickeners, stabilizers, and flavor enhancers, which can affect the mental well-being of a person. Fast food can also lead to sexual dysfunction. The fatty acids in food and the fast foods can trigger biochemical changes in your body, which can affect your libido, sperm count, and female ovulation. Obviously, it also increases your cholesterol levels. Cholesterol molecules attach themselves to the arteries, which lead to thickening or clogging. This can cause obstructed blood flow, which can lead to high blood pressure. If cholesterol accumulates in one of the main arteries, it can lead to blockage, and when an artery is completely blocked, it leads to heart attack or complete heart failure. Another consequence from fast food that most of us probably don't know or would ever think of is addiction. According to Science Daily, high levels of sugar and fat can cause blood sugar to spike and then crash suddenly. The patrons of fast food feel a sudden rush of euphoria when this happens, making them dependent on the euphoric effects of insulin surges. Therefore, one of the harmful effects of fast food consumption is addiction or incessant cravings that it causes people. Maybe some of you don't care about your health, you only live once, or the world's going to end on December 21st. But some of the gross stories that I'm sure most of us have already heard should be enough to persuade most people. Fast food restaurants are anything but clean. I'm sure we've all heard the ones on the news, like I think it was at Taco Bell, the lady who had a burrito and she started getting stomach pains immediately after. So she went to the hospital and they found a cockroach in her stomach and it laid eggs. And there was a bunch of cockroaches running around in there. I know we've all heard about the finger in the chili, whether that was actually already in the chili or she put it there. Either way, it's gross. But there are some other stories that most of us probably haven't heard that aren't as disgusting or extreme, but still pretty gross. These were collected on mainstreet.com. It's just people posting experiences that they have had at fast food restaurants. Joe said, today my husband went to Wendy's to get me lunch and brought back a hamburger and small fry. I was eating the fries when halfway through the fries I saw something that shook the box and a dead bee in 2 pieces was in my fries. Mark said, when I was 15 I worked at a locally owned burger joint. On Sunday night I was on the grill, grilling burgers and the fixings, right next to the main cook dude who took care of the burgers. We had this glass plate we used to hold the bacon flat on the grill. He was putting this away when he hit my arm and the glass plate broke into a million pieces all over the burgers we were cooking. Our boss, the owner, told us to pick the glass out of the burgers. So there we were picking small shards of glass out of the burgers that were soon to be eaten. And this one, for some reason, I think is kind of the grossest, just because I'm sure everyone eats at McDonald's. Claude in France said he stopped on the highway to get a cup of coffee, and he didn't expect it to be good, but it was atrocious. He then observed the guy at the counter put the leftover coffee from returned customers' cups back into the pot. So that's pretty disgusting. But if even that isn't enough to persuade you, there's also another reason that fast food, you should cut fast food out of your life as much as possible. Because it can make your life, or it has a huge financial impact on your life as well. According to health.com, Americans did spend over $165 billion on fast food in 2010, which is more than they spent on movies, books, magazines, newspapers, videos, and recorded music combined. They also had a little exercise where they said if you spend an average of $5 a day on fast food, which I'm sure most people spend more than that, that may not seem like very much. But when you multiply that by the 365 days in the year, that adds up to be over $1,800 a year. And like I said, most people probably spend more than $5 on fast food a day because a regular combo is more than $5. So in conclusion, talked about what fast food can do to your health, your physical appearance, and your wallet, which hopefully is enough, to make you want to cut back. I know I do now, or I already did, but now I'm going to. But then when you throw in some of the horror stories that people have experienced at some of our favorite fast food restaurants, such as McDonald's, which is all around the entire world, it seems like a no-brainer to cut it out of your life for good. Thank you.
Excellent. So Marlene, share with us.
Well, your intro was interesting. Like, you caught our attention from the get-go, and we knew what you were going to talk about from the get-go. And even though we probably all heard the speech in a different form before, like, you presented a lot of good data. Like, honestly, like, several of the facts that you told us, like, I've never heard about before. So it was interesting. Let's see. You did, like, look at us frequently, like, you would read from your paper and look at us here and there. I just thought that since, like, several times you were reading, your voice sounded a bit monotone. But besides that, like, throughout the whole speech, you did have humor here and there. That is awesome. And you did summarize what you were going to discuss, so that gave us a good layout of what to expect. And your conclusion was really neat. You wrapped up everything. So it was good.
All right. You said the Get-Go several times. That sounds like a fast food place. I want to go to the Get-Go and get myself a hamburger and go. The list of questions at the beginning, I think, is pretty effective. I think you do a nice job identifying what the subject is, how you're going to talk about it. Organizationally, everything is very easy to follow during the presentation. At the end of the speech, I thought you gave us a good summary of what you talked about. I think there are a few places where you could spend a little bit more time about the health consequences that are going on about relying on fast food, especially when it comes to the amount of fats or the contribution to obesity that you're talking about. I think that was a little bit underdeveloped, although I do think that most people have a pretty good grasp of the notion that fast food is not really good for you. The frequency with which they consume it and the bad choices that they make as a consequence, I think, need to be talked about just a little bit more. I also think that you've got some places where you make assumptions about these links. And they're probably safe assumptions, but you had this list of potential side effects sorts of things. The only one that you gave a source citation on was the one about the headaches. Depression, excuse me, was the depression issue. And then there were all those others talking about headaches and those kinds of things. And I just didn't think that there was much citation of that material there, and that needed to be a little bit more consistent. You did give us some, kind of a general source citation about a website where you got all those apocryphal stories from, and because it's public forum kind of stuff, I don't know how reliable it is. Some of the stories, of course, that you started off with, they don't necessarily, I don't know that there's any validity to them at all. The ones that are reported on the site, those are people's experiences. Again, I'm not sure how generalizable it is. Making something disgusting, I know, is an appealing negative visualization and tries to motivate people. I don't know how effective it is that people get turned off of those kinds of things, because obviously the converse of that is that they make it visually appealing. That's how they sell products. There are all kinds of tools that they get people to respond to with on that, and I think that's. I understand the desire to use those stories. I just don't think they're nearly as strong or helpful as the health issues that you were talking about. On the presentation issues, I'll echo a couple of things. I think your eye contact is really problematic because you are looking down a lot and you're reading. At this point in the semester, we really want you. That shouldn't be an issue. You should just not have the script in your hand. You should not be reading the audience. You know what the argument is. The only time that you should be looking down is when you are looking for a specific quote or information. Otherwise, you should just be talking to us, and you're not doing that. And I know part of it is that you've written out this language. You've got ways that you're describing things, and you want to be able to recall all of that. The problem is that it does take you out of the situation. It disengages you from the audience, and so that's a little bit of a problem. I didn't think it sounded monotone. I thought you did a nice job reading it, so I thought that you did a pretty effective job at that, and sometimes getting the humor in those things. It does limit, though, your gestures and your engagement again, so it's one of those things about your ethos coming from your delivery is undermined there. All right, thank you.